13, I made the worst decision of my life. It traumatized me so much. I'm now 19 and I regret it every day. I decided to move away from my family to a completely different city 2 hours away and live in an apartment with two girls I barely knew, one of them I had never met, to pursue gymnastics more seriously. The way this worked is Monday through Friday we had gymnastics and we would do like school upstairs online, and then every night a different parent would come stay with us in our one-bedroom apartment, and then at the end of the week on Friday we would all go back home and then drive back up to the apartment Sunday night. So I would see my mom like once or twice a week, and then some of Friday, all of Saturday, and some of Sunday. Why she let me do this, I have no idea. Also, all three of us were about the same age and I was in 8th grade. The only good thing that came out of this is I met one of my best friends who was the girl I didn't know. The gym environment ended up being absolutely traumatizing and we were all being abused. Things went south pretty quick. We were all crying multiple times a day. We would cry before practice, we would cry at night anticipating practice, we'd cry after practice, and our parents were like, you made this decision, like you gotta stick to it, but I don't think they knew how bad it was. We all started to experience panic attacks and we just wanted to be home. I absolutely hated like every second there, and I'm pretty sure they did too. I have so many stories of just whack, horrible things that happened there. But like I said, there was one good thing that came out of it, and that was meeting my best friend, and she was the girl that I didn't know when I first moved in. We became inseparable like super quick. We did everything together, and when we weren't at practice or worrying about practice, we were like laughing. The whole time we were supposed to be doing school, we would be laughing. Like I never laughed harder than I did with that girl. We would have movie nights like all the time, and since we were all staying in the same bedroom, we ended up making a fort underneath our beds because they were all touching, and we'd watch movies under there. My best friend ended up bringing her cat, and we also had a hamster. That hamster is a story for a different time, but we had so much fun having like the cat there. We were definitely all trauma bonded because we went through so much together. I still talk to the girl I was best friends with. I actually FaceTimed her the other night, and she's my best friend I've ever had in my entire life. I wish I could have met my bestie in a different way because the damage was so not worth it. This entire thing lasted over a year, so let me know if you want more stories from this time in my life because I have so many.
Okay, guys, like I have the craziest friendship experience story time that I just like have been holding for years, and it just came to my attention that this is like happening to more people from these people. So now I'm just like, okay, it's my time. I'm obviously not going to say names or anything. I'm just going to call them thing 1, thing 2. They're twin sisters. That's pretty much all you need to know to put the pieces together here. But like, have you guys been friends with like people that just like lie about like anything and everything? Well, yeah, like now take that, times it by 1,000,000. Like think like pretends they have cancer level. Yeah. And like I'm not going to talk about like other people's experiences necessarily, but like let's just say like they've done things like this before. And there's so many red flags, and honestly I feel like so stupid because I was just trying to see the good in them. Like they seemed like super nice people when I met them, and I just should have known. Like anyways, so start off with them like lying about like random stuff, like they graduated early, they went to like McGill, and their mom is like the head of cancer care, and this and that, like all these things that are easy enough to fact check and like see that that is not true, obviously, but this is where it really happened and became like personal and actually affected me emotionally. So we booked a trip to Calgary Stampede. We'd only been friends for probably like 2 or 3 months at this point, but we're like like they're down for things, I'm down for things, like let's book this trip. And there's 5 of us going, so it's me, my friend, them 2, and their friend. And like the hard part about it is because like unless you experienced it personally, like you will never understand this truly. But now that I know other people have experienced it like firsthand, it like makes me feel like I can actually share this and not feel like crazy. So pretty much the very first night that we get to Stampede, one of them is in the room with us, one of them is in a different room getting ready, and the one in the room with us just starts crying and saying how she like pretty much is gonna die, and she has lung cancer and is on a lung transplant list, and that she's been in and out of the hospital for the last like month or something without us knowing. And like, first of all, these girls are the biggest attention seekers ever. If there was actually something happening where they had to go to the hospital, they would be telling everybody and anybody about it. So I already know this isn't true. Plus, if you're on a lung transplant list, you are not at Calgary Stampede drinking and partying. Never mind like smoking or like anything like that. So anyways, I'm not believing it. My friend's not believing it. We're kind of like laughing about it because like, not to be mean or anything, but we're just like, we don't believe you. A little background where how this makes this personal to me. This summer, my grandpa had actually been dying of cancer the entire summer and passed away actually a month after this happened. But yeah, I was watching him die all summer. So like, talking about cancer and like making like a lie about it is just something that's so wrong in so many ways, but it was just especially personal to me. And my other grandpa died when I was younger from lung cancer, and we found out he had lung cancer because he collapsed. And so I kind of bring this up. I'm like, girl, like, you don't have lung cancer. You're definitely not on a lung transplant list, because like, if you actually did, you wouldn't be here, and like, you wouldn't be able to party, because like, my grandpa collapsed when he had lung cancer because he couldn't breathe, this and that. So keep in mind that I did share this story with them. So I couldn't be around them anymore, so I let like thing one go out alone, and thing two stayed with us. And me and my friend were kind of like talking to her like, girl, like, is this for real? Because like, there's always two of them together. We rarely have one of them separate. And she's kind of like telling us like, yeah, she like kind of lies a lot, and like, she is like kind of a problem, and she like hurts a lot of our friendship. And so her own sister is telling us like, this girl does lie, like, and I just get dragged into it. And then later that night, we get a call from the friend that went with thing one, and it was like, guys, you have to come to the staircase right now. There's like an emergency. We run into the staircase, and there is thing one laid out, passed out in the stairwell, pretending that she's unconscious. And I asked the friend, like, how much did she have to drink? Because like, that was like where my mind went first, was like, oh, maybe she drank too much, and this was like whatever. But she was like, she didn't really drink much. So I'm like, okay, like maybe she got roofied or something. So regardless, I was like, we're gonna call 911, okay? So I'm like, boop boop, okay, I'm calling. And then she like magically awakens, and it's like, oh, I'm alive. Super dramatic, may I add. And she's like, my lung, like, I need my medicine. And her sister goes and grabs the bronchitis puffer that they had from when they had bronchitis like a week earlier, that they were still both having, like, they were both coughing like weird, which they were trying to play it off as like the lung cancer, but it was because they have bronchitis. Anyways, so then I like put all of the pieces together, and I was like, oh my god, she's trying to pretend like to pass out to try and make this more believable, that like, because this is what happened to my grandpa when he found out he had lung cancer. And that's when I was like, these people are evil. Okay, well, safe to say I was not friends with them after that experience, and they kind of apologized after for other things, but not for that specific thing. But yeah, the rest of Stampede was horrible. It was just not good. To this day, it was like the biggest waste of my money and time that I've ever had in my life. But whatever. So I got back home, and I wrote out this entire notes thing, which I'm sure I could probably find somewhere still. It had all the receipts of like everything, all their lies, everything they've ever said, like everything. And at the end, because I was like, okay, I honestly think that someone should just tell them these things, because if I was this psychotic and delusional, I would want someone to just tell me. And at the very end, I said, if I hear anything about me come out of your mouths, I will make sure this was like spread around. Like, people will hear about this. And the only reason I said that is because every close friend they've ever had in the past, they have spread the craziest, weirdest, like, actually horrible lies about, like, very controversial, which I'm not going to get into. And like, that, I respect those people a lot, because they really went through it. And obviously all that part of it was taken out if I were to share it with anybody. But whatever, I sent it to them, never heard anything back again. Honestly, never really saw them again. A week later, I hear, oh, actually, we stopped being friends with her because she just got super jealous of us at Stampede because we're getting all the male attention over her. And I just, like, couldn't help but laugh, because I was like, you couldn't have thought of anything else, like, anything, like, maybe believable. So after that, I was like, you know what? Screw it. And I, like, made a private story with a bunch of, like, my close girlfriends, and I was like, here you go, guys. Eat this up. And honestly, it was, like, a PSA to, like, my close friends. Like, do not fall for this trap of a friendship, because it's not worth it. Well, last weekend, it's been, like, years, and I'm, like, completely over it now. But these two people came up, and they're like, hey, so you're friends with the twins, right? And I was like, I haven't heard this in forever. But I was like, yeah, actually, I was. They're like, well, you wouldn't believe what happened to us. And I was like, baby girl, let me believe you. I, like, whatever you say, I already believe you. And almost word for word, what they did to me they did to them, including like pretending cancer. Like, I don't think they had it this time, but like their mom did or something. Just bizarre, like crazy. So needless to say, we're gonna start like a little trauma support group over this, because seriously, like, this is nuts. But yeah, if this also happened to you, like, let's all be friends and let's get drinks and talk about this, because what the heck. Anyways, peace and love, guys. That's just like, I can't believe I'm bringing this up after all this time. But like, I actually just like, I think it's the funniest thing. They've not learned their lesson at all. So whatever. Bye.